We have these legends ready to take on one another once again over on Erangel Max. We're going to be taking a look at the match number 4 on the day. We're going to be going from Severny down to the west point of Sosnovka Military.
Pretty decent. At least we're not going to have some weird drops happening for Gladiators. They can easily make it to North George Pole this time around. But yeah, we had some great matches. Of course, Regnum Karia secured himself the back-to-back win at the start of the day. Loxy in particular, John, has been an absolute standout player after how Azel played in day 2. So good stuff from the Turkish teams, even though I would like to see some OG Western European squads maybe rise up to the challenge. And yeah, I mean, we still got a few matches for that to happen here, John. So OG Western Europe, you need to rise up right now.
Absolutely, looking for a little bit more performance there. We've seen these Mad Bulls drops around the GK department go a little bit smoother for them this time around. Actually, a wide split here. Ragnar and Satan both sending away quite far from the GK drop. Gladiators might have a little bit of an off angle to deal with Ragnar.
Yeah, very split away from one another, actually. Satan, Ragnar, not willing to get close to Rozhok has been just unfortunately the cause of many bad memories for them in that compound. Actually, Mad Bulls kind of leaving it, kind of going towards that school and apartment complex that we mentioned multiple times that has similar rotation path, and you're just not going to mess around your early game too much. So I do appreciate that from Mad Bulls. Thank you very much for that. When it comes to other drops, though, I've seen a little bit of a potential clash. Brute Force and Gangsters up north on the west of Severny hopefully is not going to result in anything, because Gangsters can't die without meeting the blue zone. They need to survive until at least then.
I think they've played this split drop to the west of Severny before, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember exactly which match. I'd have to go back through, but I think we've seen them up there once so far. They shall once more throw themselves into that breach. Down on North George, the Gladiators are back there. Excuse me as well. South George, Dumwerte split over those Gatka fields. The West Coast looking nice and plump with players.
Plump, yeah. Maybe not a word I was expected to hear today in PUBG Mobile Esports.
Like a well-fed chicken.
You know what? There's that chicken dinner. It's a very big dinner. You're going to have a lot of people at the table there. But Gangsters ready on the move, going away from the circle as per usual. Though I'm looking at this phase 1, John, there's a lot of positions that I'm personally looking at. Don't know if you would agree, but I'm mainly looking at Mini Pachinki. The areas around school apartment are going to be relatively strong. So teams like Mad Bulls, easy access, won't have to move too much in this early phase. So they can easily just loot up, bunker up in one of those positions and just chill for a few phases at least.
For me, I mean, you talked about the Mad Bulls having that position that could be pretty pivotal. I would say also the teams on the eastern side and the northeast are going to have a little bit easier of a time in general moving into these locations. They might have to scrap a little bit for them, but in my mind, I see a little bit smoother of a journey for them, given that a lot of the teams have settled on this western point and will be funneled across those Pachinki fields into 1, 2, maybe 3 different sort of routes in towards the central area of this circle.
With a circle like this, actually, one way to make it a little bit easier on yourself and to gather information is Potato Hill. It's a good position. You could see teams like Regnum Karia, GQ, Falcons, maybe also Nigma Galaxy wants to leave Pachinki a little bit earlier and go to Potato Hill, play one of those compounds and have a good overview, because it is relatively central on this phase 1, so it would be a good option to get some early info. But other than that, no hot drops, which... No, I mean, we did have Brute Force lose 1 player, unfortunately, to the side of Gangsters, which was a little bit unfortunate. But other than that, we're not seeing that Rozhok fight anymore, which is making me a lot happier. You know what? My enjoyment has been doubled and given to the next person.
That's very kind of you, actually, and I'll double it and
You're
pass it straight on. I'll double it and pass it straight on as well, because it has been a little bit of a breath of fresh air. It's something we've heavily criticized GK4 is going for a hot drop literally every single map, and we saw it at the start of today with them taking on, I think it was Excuse Me, in boot camp over on Sanok, and we were like, oh no, the only map where they weren't fighting someone immediately, and we weren't allowed to say that. But yeah, good news is they've taken a step. Well, actually, they haven't taken a step back. It's not even their decision. It's Mad Bulls.
It's Mad Bulls. I mean, Mad Bulls have been doing decently there too, but they're going to be taking a step back then, as you said, which I do appreciate. We'll see if it's going to continue in Picardo. We've got Miramar right after this, so hopefully it's going to be able to transition in those other battlegrounds. Otherwise, yeah, just not much happening. It's a very central circle, so we're just really relaxing, though. There are a few teams that I really want to see a comeback from here, hopefully. And one team that has still been slow on the rotations has been Gladiators. They do have Northern George. This is their bread and butter when it comes to Erangel, John. So I would say no really excuse on this game. We need to see more presence because we're past the halfway point of PMRC. And it seems like at the start of these events, they go back to the old playstyle that just doesn't work, where they're very split and they rotate slow. And they just slowly improve over time, but it's sometimes very, very late. And I want to see them just start a tournament hot one day. Maybe PMPL, who knows?
Well, I mean, they're definitely not starting hot here. I think is the underlying story for them. Hopefully, a better showing. Meku has been poking his nose over towards the gangsters in Zaki, so a split position for them. Definitely have that information. And the first place that of the first bit of land that has the blue zone on it, of course, the gangsters are there on the northwest point. I didn't catch it, but the gangsters did manage to pick off a player from Brute Force over towards Severny, where they initially dropped.
Yeah, a little bit too close on the drop, but that wasn't too much of an issue for gangsters. Pick themselves that one, go to Zaki, loot up. Might clash into gladiators as they rotate towards shooting range, which is their typical rotation. We'll have to see how that one unfolds, though. Here you go, Nigma Galaxy started leaving Pachinki, leaving Lord as a little bit of a scout, checking out the Headshot Valley, or I don't know how you used to call it. It was blank. That static?
I mean, yeah, I think we went for Headshot Hills in the end.
That was it. There was multiple iterations.
We had
of the
a
name.
lot of iterations, yeah, for sure. Either way, bloody dangerous and open ground with a couple of defilades, but you poke your head off. It's coming off.
We saw in PMWI Vampire play that position actually really well because you got a few dips, a few little ridges that are really, really strong. I mean, you can see it here as Nigma pass on by. You got those little like piles of dirt you can hide behind. And if you can actually hide cars over there, you can also leave it later on down the line. So Vampire proven that it is, in fact, super strong. Is just down to that terrain knowledge. And if you do know how that terrain works, then you can actually get a chicken dinner without too much of an effort, as we saw multiple times. And here you go, GK sent it into Mini Pachinki. Currently going to be holding down a few of those buildings.
Yeah, on the north side of the warehouse with overlook onto those Headshot Hills, they can get a little bit of vision and control over the area there for teams rotating through. Regnum Kaya, who broke out towards the east, we've seen a lot of them today so far. They've started to coalesce back west, closer to the Mad Bull's position. Nobody yet on the north side of Potato Hill, Max, but Regnum Kaya the closest to that spot.
Yeah. And to link back onto Regnum Kaya mostly is that what I love so much about their playstyle and why it's been so successful so far is they like to have these not really wide 2-2 splits, but 2-2 splits in really solid positions on the later stage of the game, mainly like towards phase 5, 6. And then instantly when the circle shifts and they just go to the best point of interest and just hold it down as a 4-man team like a 4 and get themselves the win in a really, really efficient way. So I said it many times, Regnum Kaya is such an underrated team outside of their region.
You love them.
Really, I do. They're my favorite Turkish team for a reason, because the fragging power is there. They just needed a little bit more experience outside of Turkey. And I feel like this is the perfect opportunity for them to get that experience and maybe bring it back to their region afterwards.
I mean, they're certainly outperforming teams like Gladiators right now, who they'll be facing off against in those PMPLs, right? A little bit further down the line after the Turkish one, and hopefully be able to bring that experience through, like you say. I mean, they are certainly right now, in my eyes, outshining Fireflux for sure in their performance right here, and obviously S2G not being here. As you say, they're your actually, I don't know who I'm talking about. But no, they have absolutely, you're right. They've outshone their countrymen in this spot, and we hope for more from them, because right now we're loving the performance that they're playing with obviously the new pickup coming through on Azel. Has done so much so far over these last few days. I
mean, today was the Loxy show. Wild has not been as impressive as I initially expected, but that's fine. He's going to take a little bit more time before he starts to get those elims in. So GK still playing himself this little area, controlling the warehouse too. There's still that northern little pile of dirt you can actually play, so that could be a good transition point for teams later on down the line. But otherwise, I got to say, things have definitely started a lot slower this game. I think we witnessed that throughout the entirety of today, that teams, the rotations path and the drops have been a lot cleaner. So teams have been trying to adapt and learn as much as they possibly could. Yeah, there's not really. This is actually really interesting. It's very by the book for quite a few of the teams. I'm enjoying how things are going. Very slow pace, but that's fine every once in a while.
I think the first scrap we might see is, in fact, what we're on board with right now. Nexus are near to Muerte on the southwest side, both of whom are going to have to go a little bit closer to the circle. I imagine we could see some crashes into Pochinki from one of these two teams, because right now, nobody actually holding the majority of Pochinki. It's not ideal to go in there, but if you just want to get away from a fight, you can hold it off.
Yeah, you can go there as a temporary rotation. Just play the outskirts. If you're De Muerte, if you're Nexus, you could just go there, hold out. Maybe also Church. I mean, Church would be a good option because it's a little bit higher ground. You can get some good info, hide a few cars up there, and you can continue your transition afterwards, after gathering some intel on maybe Enigma Galaxy or Excuse Me that are nearby Church. That actually would be a very, very solid option. I was actually talking about scouting spots, John. We talked about Potato Hill a bit earlier, and GQ sent it over there. That seems like today are putting a bigger emphasis around gathering information, which has been super, super useful for them, especially on that previous Erangel. So I want to see, not the previous one, the first Erangel of the day, and I want to see if that can continue throughout these matches. I was waiting for another shift, and this one is going to be a lot more telling as to what we can expect for the late game, John. Where is it going to head to? If it goes on the valley, that will be super interesting because that terrain knowledge is heavily going to come to play.
Yeah, it's going to be so important to be able to have some control over that. Right now, we spoke about it earlier. Whoa, okay. Ooh. That is a nasty shift. It does have a little bit of the headshot hills in it on that southwest side, but this is Rozhok. This is north side of the river as well, which is kind of crazy given how much of it was in the circle. The gangsters pretty happy right now. They can move down into those bunkers on the North Shore and try and just fend off anyone trying to cross.
This is really rough because I did not expect the possibility of it going north, but it actually could. A lot of teams are just like desperate at this point, John, thinking, whoa, we just need to get into the circle. What are we doing? Is it going to go north or south? Is it going to go in Rozhok and be a city finish? We don't know. All we know is we have to fully send it, and Loxy is the first man to fall for Regnum Karya.
Got Tron up the top, looking to try and control GQ on their roll straight on in. No slowing down here. The wheel does spin out. Two players in the vehicle makes it a little bit dangerous, but the west point of Rozhok moves in towards Enigma Galaxy. Excuse me, both going back and forth on the trades right now. Two players from Enigma Galaxy have already fallen, and Furia trying to back up the rest of his squad as well, as Coops looks to pick Lord back up.
I didn't expect so many teams to just full send it into Rozhok. I mean, there's some little positions around that you could play, but okay, seem like they just expect a city finish to be happening, which with a circle like this, I can understand why teams would speculate that, so actually, I can't hate on that too much. But it seemed like actually Falcons are dodging the fight, going right up north of the river, so it seems like they're taking a little bit of a gamble. But the city is out, like, 5 teams currently, all fighting, as Enigma Galaxy were able to slowly but surely heal up from their wounds, but Furia, the Nade King, ready to cook it and chuck it towards Enigma Galaxy very soon. That could be a great knock, but the smokes do hide the windows, so making it a little bit harder to hit.
A lot of teams just sending in for those buildings. Regnum Karya looked like they want to leave from that high ground, the South Rozhok Hill, roll down as well the slope, try and gather some speed into it. Playing a little bit split right now. Road to Glory, doing a lot more today and impressing us overall in general. Up and down team that they've had mixed performances, but they have had some standout ones in the bag. It doesn't look like this is going to be one of them, though. Max, they've already lost a player.
Oh, unfortunate. And also, though, something that is pretty fortunate is I'm looking at Evo Station with the MG3 that we've seen be a pretty big clutch weapon of interest yesterday on that final Miramar. So it could definitely turn the tide in this possible city finish, which a lot more teams have started to bank on that position. While Gladiators, I'm loving what Gladiators are doing, actually. Waiting on the west next to Sunken City and waiting for the next circle to pop and make a decision based onto that. As here you go, GK suffering from the wrath of Nextoria here against that nade.
Far on the south side, that position in Mini Rozhok there, just on the northeast point of it. They play in this warehouse and the nades burst open the defenses here, looking to try and hold down the wall, and Frozen has to hit the deck behind the barrels to stay alive, and in this one gets the reload off, and now only one player from GK survives. The Molotov was there, and they will deny it as well. The point gets picked up by Doka Machine, and GK, they are swept aside. Next Ruya have the better time of it.
That was such a one-sided fight, John.
That's what happens when two players go down to a nade instantly.
Exactly. I mean, great execution from Nextoria. Now there's going to be a lot easier transition in the south. No one is going to be really of a major issue. Well, wait, Tixie's playing that radio tower. Wow. Okay. Don't see that position played too often because typically you can be spotted pretty easily, but it's just going to be for a small amount of time, I believe. Just get info, see where teams are positioned, get back with the team, and rotate into the circle, maybe towards Kitsune. There is currently actually a few really strong buildings to the west. No one's really looking that way right now, so Gladiators in a decent position as Gangsters looking to engage onto Falcons.
Nades being launched in by the Falcons. Jafar answering though, peeks over the top, and Yusuf goes down first. It is traded off, however, and immediately flushed by Kevin. Yusuf down away from the rest of the team, not quite with the sightlines on Falcons to go down fully. Not the flush just yet. As we hop back over to next Ruya, they're rolling straight on in to Duerte, looking to try and hold it off, but no, the wheel just claps them, and they are going to fall on down. Next Ruya have had their fair share of casualties sent back their way, and Jose holds down the position, but Dokkan Machine once more puts the final nail into the coffin, and next Ruya can get these reses, but hang on a minute, the Gladiators have entered the fight.
Oh, that's Nade City. This is so easy for Meku. There's no way the next Ruya make it out alive. There you go, 2 eliminations confirmed. That's going to be 4 easy points to secure for Gladiators, and that's going to be it. Next Ruya eliminated in 13th position, but still 8 eliminations, so not that bad of a game here.
Gladiators looking to try and just close up on that southwest side, push in and play towards these teams in Rostock, because if the circle does finish there, they need all the control they can get, Max.
There's actually some decent positions they can enter here. Mainly, I think the pushing onto Brute Fort spot would be a decent breaching point because they have cars. Though North, Gangsters, and Falcons, the 2 only teams that took the North River gamble, are currently fighting it out. And that nade is looking massive. And that's going to be 2 more. And actually, the entire squad falling on down. Falcons, more eliminations, full control up north, but they need to start thinking about how are they going to rotate across that river.
4 eliminations, 3 players alive. They do not have their full force now. The wings somewhat clipped on the northern shore. East side, Vision looking to try and just pick players off and maybe find an open door in Rozhok. The next circle, pretty close, only at 45 seconds now before the next one pops. And the circle right at the center of it is that urban environment of Rozhok.
I know I've been talking about Gladiators a lot here, but they're going for a wide southern wrap. And they're going to try and go for that hilltop south of Regnum Karya, south of Rozhok, which actually is going to be good to have a good overview of what the hell is happening in this weird finish of a city. So we'll have to see. I mean, these city finishes are always fun to see how they unfold, but it's very tough to predict who's going to be possibly taking this win. It's going to be down to the numbers. If you still have, at this point, have a 4-man team, you are potentially in the racing for a chicken dinner on this 4th map of the day. And this shift is going to be very telling here, John, as to who might be the one to take that win.
Gladiators might have to scrap it out with Vision for that south side as they have continued their eastward march. Hang on a minute, Kitsune's all the way over on the west. That is nasty. It keeps the Falcons in on the northern shore.
I remember this exact circle back, I think it was PMPL Europe. You have that ridge just north, actually just south of that river. And we saw a team play it back in Europe, and it's so strong if no one is on the west or the north. If Falcons do some misplay, aren't really a threat to Gladiators, they could actually run away with a chicken dinner. Because all the teams now are going to have to fight one another to escape from Rozhok, except potentially from Brute Force, which are playing that very high ground position. They are currently, in this city, the safest team. They might be one of the few to make it out alive of this.
I think you've also got Regnum Karya, who are currently the only team on the south side of the road here.
Yeah.
They could retreat up the hill if they know that there's no one up there, if they've scouted that information. They can move along that ridgeline, but then their crossing is so hard with everybody in control of that area.
If I were them, what I'd do as Regnum Karya, delay the rotation and try and shut down teams as they try to rotate. The Falcons on the rotate, caught out by Vision Esports that went north of the... Wait a second, Vision sent north?
That wasn't Falcons, that was Vision all day. 6 goes down, no clutches for him on this map. And that's a really good pickup for Vision. They're going to be able to control the bridge to the northeast side of Rozhok. They might be able to get across should the need arise, and most likely will arise in the coming circles. Really solid, but there is still an answer from Teacup on high.
Oh, Teak, though, actually, that angle is so strong because he's got that little dip on the road and you just can't really push him out of that location. So that push from Vision Esports, I like the idea. I know where they were going with it. They wanted to try and just play that ridge north of Brute Force. But unfortunately, the fact that Falcons are up there are going to ruin many play opportunities for these remaining squads in Rozhok. And Vision, just as now Mon and Volt, the 2 remaining players, will have to keep the hopes alive for the team, maybe trying to secure a few extra placement points The Gladiators still not willing to regroup, which I think they might be stretching it a little bit too far, John.
I mean, they've left Meku. They have got their 3 now over on the west side. And Meku is in a vehicle. Wait, hang on a minute.
Where are they going?
They've just turned... They've just swiveled on the steering wheels. They're going right up to the hill, close to Enigma Galaxy. Coop's on the roof as well there. And to be fair, there's no one on the northern shore looking out this way. They don't really have too much exposure out there either way. They've sent Meku out all the way to the west, but they're playing closer to Rozhok.
I'm not sure how to feel about this, John, right now, because I feel like it might get a little bit too close where nades could be of impact. I still think that holding onto the west side and that little ridge next to the river would be a good option, but this is definitely a most aggressive approach. But if it's played correctly, it could definitely result in a win for them. As Falcons now, as expected, crossing back from that riverside is going to be proven to be a difficult task at hand. And Brute Force from that high ground just has so much intel onto Falcons, and all the teams inside the city could also be in a very strong game-winning spot. But are we going to see teams try and breach it like Fireflux that have been sneakily approaching the northeast? They could try and get that nice off angle and just upset Brute Force in that spot.
We've seen this coastline on that bank side here on the east point where Fireflux are holding be super effective against positions like Visions where they're playing, and Falcons as well, even further across that shoreline. They will have to leave it, and that is the main curtailer of this. This is wild that the North Shore is still in this one. And it goes away from so many of these teams. It is going to be absolute carnage with these legends of Rozhok.
We just reached that breaking point, John. Every team is going to start to engage, pushing on over. Regnum Kara is going to have a bit of a tough task at hand because they're going to have to cross that road. And the teams are not going to allow that to happen for free, at least, as Mon spotted out Bolt, the last remaining player of Vision. Also spotted out by Fireflux. They know he's not going to be able to make it out for too long. Falcons also trying to survive a little bit further in this match. But Gladiators need to try and regroup and send it to the west. Just to bring it up once more, this is a big opportunity for them to maybe initiate that comeback in PMRC after a bit of an upset of a start on those first few days. Fireflux, that could be massive, but a little bit too short on the throw.
Regnum Kaya looking to make their way out of the south side of Rozhok, but they are getting cut apart by the Gladiators. Into the mulcher they go. Tixie picks it up. There is Nox sent back their way, but only on Tomatic. And Regnum Kaya meet their maker. The Gladiators are able to win this round.
That was instant. The team just barely arrived and instantly sent straight back to the lobby. We'll see you back on Miramar, lads. But now teams in the city are starting to encroach even further in the city of Rozhok. They need to try and gain more space, more terrain. Oh, GQ, the nade of Ralph, absolutely decimate the two players of GQ. AC trying to hold on, maybe trying to get the res, but I don't think Ralph is going to allow that to happen. And the off angle also of Coops will be there to get 3 easy points for them, but a little bit greedy on the side of Coops.
Corker able to get some sort of retribution, but already his team has fallen apart at the seams here as they fall to the face of Enigma Galaxy out to their west. The res onto Coops should be easy enough. Groza goes down, and Corker has more to play with.
Great nade. They're able to just get the bounce over that wall, makes it in, confirms that elimination, and the team squad, the whole squad, should I say. Still waiting to see Brute Force. How are they going to do this one? Because now, normally this is an easy position to defend because you've got those little ridges, very nadeable, but now a lot of teams are going to be setting their eyes on that position, wanting to try and overtake it and breach it. As Furia sees it, going to go for the 11.
Steps out. Furia wants the challenge. Corker plays back behind the cover there, and the DBS will not have the shot on the door just yet. It's being denied. The door shut as well to get the cross over towards the window. Can get an extra angle, but you step up to a DBS that close range. It's going to be a coin toss either way, and Furia comes up heads this time.
How is the north of the circle still in play? Falcons could literally steal this one away.
Oh, dear.
This is an actual possibility that Falcons just waited out, and the teams are trying to leave the city, and they just pick up everyone piece by piece. Fireflux taken out, down to now 5 teams in this game. And Enigma Galaxy still have 3 players, Lord, Coops, and Ralph, that have been on a tear in the past few minutes. And now with the extra loot they've been able to secure, maybe able to move even further. And though unfortunately Gladiators not able to go for that position west, and will go out a little bit earlier than what I expected.
They tried to play too close to Rozhok there.
Yes.
Sure, they took down Regnum Kaya, and that's what they were hoping to do. This is wild for the circle.
Again?
That's what they were hoping to do on the west side, is just stop all of these players from leaving Rozhok, because they expected more to try and fly out from them. But in the end, their time ran out and they had to go for the crash, and they just fell. They fell down.
But these circles, they keep centering on bloody brute force. They just stay in there. Teams are just not able to get there because they're fighting one another, and they might just pick up the last few players at the very end. Falcons, actually, because Brute Force are going to be focused on Enigma Galaxy, Mad Balls, all the other squads might be able to make that cross happen. So Falcons have a chance, but Mad Balls trying to survive. That roof position from Lord is absolutely pivotal for Enigma Galaxy on gathering information and trying to take down as many players as possible before going for their push.
Brute Force should have the upper angle on Lord's position as the backstop AXA for Falcons getting peppered away. Will finally have to cross that river, but you can see there's cover being supplied by the team. 10 eliminations already on the game. Enigma Galaxy with 7. Probably, I would say, the team that has come off best from this Rozhok position. The Falcons just trying to cinch everyone else in as well.
They're just playing tower defense here for Brute Force. That's just all they've been doing. Ado in particular on that roof has been getting so much intel for the team. Furia, no way he survives that one. That's it. See you later. The blue zone gets him, actually. Okay, so elimination denied out from Mad Balls and Enigma Galaxy. Excuse me, in 5th position, but 7 elims for Enigma Galaxy here because they've been losing that lead earlier against the side of Regnum Karya. This is a huge game to reclaim that top spot.
These ridges are really hard to push through. If you've got a team like Brute Force in the spot that they are, and now with Enigma Galaxy joining that high ground, it is so hard to get up to that spot. The question is, where does the circle close, Max? Which paths are going to be crucial? You could see the slopes emerge on that eastern side, on that western side as well. You're going to have to try and control those areas if you want to emerge from the river.
Yeah, we're going to have one more shift coming up. We'll have to see how it's going to be going. If it goes to the west, actually, they could surprise Brute Force by playing that ridge. That ridge actually could be really strong, very nadeable, unfortunately, and you can see that Ado still has 3 nade at this very moment, so those ridges might not be that safe because of the utility still in their control. But Acer slowly sending it a little bit further, but the nades, here you go, John, they're coming out. They could ruin everything for Falcons and Mad Balls.
Sends it up for 3. Comes back with nothing, but it does hit. The damage is there. They do tag it. So they'll be aware of the team down there. They should have been aware already. Teams start to bide their time. It's the teams out on the east. That's Falcons on their east spread. Enigma Galaxy going to have to move, and the Mad Balls just about eking into the circle.
You know Falcons want to eliminate Mad Balls. This is so important for their late game, but they can't because Brute Force are just constantly eyeing out that ridge, and they can't peek their heads over it. Otherwise, their head is getting blown right off. They can't do anything. Here you go, Enigma. Make it inside the warehouse, a little bit of a safer position. They're going to be sharing it, for now at least, with Brute Force. Ooh. But they're still going to have to keep moving because the center is not coming their way. It goes hard west. Brute Force still currently looking like the favorites in this match.
6 gets to the cover. Ralph not quite able to tack on. A lot of ammo still in the backpack for Enigma Galaxy. They are well supplied. Falcons not so lucky though. Teak now last to stand. No, wait, hang on a minute. They've still got one more. A little bit further out there. 6. Playing along this ridge, and these are the nades. This is where it starts to hurt so much. Coops cleaning up Mad Balls in the meantime. And now Brute Force, probably their only major threat is Enigma Galaxy in that warehouse with Coops down the hill as well, being backed up. I think that's Ralph with him. Yeah,
this was in a stalemate position for so long because there was no utility, but now Enigma Galaxy arrived. They have that utility, nades, mollies, and all that, so that's definitely going to change the tide. Enigma, they have to full send it, John. They need to clear this team, otherwise it's going to be rough with Brute Force looking on the side.
2 players from Enigma Galaxy have now isolated themselves in a pretty tricky position. And look at the pre-position from Prepod.
Massive.
Swinging down and getting a sideswipe onto this fight, Max. It's absolutely pivotal. Could be, certainly, for Brute Force with the nades on the high ground. Ralph looks to line one up, but Coops goes low here. The Falcons looking to emerge.
They still had nades? I didn't expect that. Okay, they just could eliminate the entire team. This is so nadeable. There's nowhere Enigma Galaxy can escape. I think that was actually their last nade, John, so they can't do much with it. But this is a fight for second place. It's going to be between Falcons and Enigma Galaxy, with Brute Force normally securing this chicken dinner. And that ridge is slowly getting pushed out of into the blue zone. That nade is huge. That might just be a double if they get close enough.
Over the top. Oh. Alexa dodges it. Enigma Galaxy still not under pressure just yet. Plenty from the blue, though.
Ado joins. He joins with Prepod. They're just really locking down this game.
Such an important sideswipe angle. This is the ridge that I was talking about. You need to get control of this. And that's exactly what Brute Force have done. Coops, first out now, stepping up to the fight. Neos shuts back the Falcons. They are answering with knocks over onto Coops, onto Nigma Galaxy. They get that flush, but they cannot peek forwards either because the rooftop is so dangerous. Teak last to stand and they fall down. And in the meantime, Nigma Galaxy swept aside. Brute Force take a second, double back-to-back.
Yeah, it was so quick at the end. Nigma Galaxy just got a third place and a second place over to Team Falcons, but we knew it, John, the fact it kept Sentry